Hey guys, welcome to Vesna TV. Let's get started right away because it's a long one today. I'm transforming this ugly trash table. So my neighbor was throwing this table out and we just happened to be taking garbage out at the same time. And when I saw it, I asked him, "Hey, are you putting that in the garbage? Do you think I could take it?" And he's like, "Sure, go ahead." He was trying to redo it, but I guess he couldn't. So I took it and I knew that I could give it some new life. Now he did wind up taking off the little handles and all that stuff, so I had to go back to his house and get it because he didn't want to give it to me until he knew that I could refinish it, just in case I was going to throw it out. He didn't want those going in the garbage. So here it is. I originally thought I might stain it. However, it is leathered at the top, so it's kind of hard to stain it. And I couldn't really take all of the stuff off of it by sanding it, so I've decided to prime it first and then paint it with chalk paint and do my kind of style where I like to make it look like it's kind of wood, kind of dark brown and aged, but not. So I start off with primer, and it was just a paint primer I had on hand, nothing spectacular. I thought about using the bin primer, the shellac primer, because that works really well as well. However, it is really cold out, so I can't do this outside, and I can't really have windows open because it's like extreme cold warnings cold outside. So I'm just doing it with this way because this has kind of very low VOC, so even if I crack it just a little bit my window, it's okay. But with the shellac, it's really stinky, so you really want to do it in a well ventilated area, like almost outside or in your garage. So I'm starting off with just scruffing it up a little bit more, just so that everything sticks a little bit better. So I just do one layer of the primer and I let it dry kind of for a few hours. It is shinier than my chalk paint is, but that's okay. And then I'm going to be using my Annie Sloan chalk paint in cocoa. If you watch my previous video, I did the same thing with that video as well. So again, I'm just doing one coat of this, like really lightly, and then I'll do another coat just to cover it because the underneath is white. If I had left it brown, I wouldn't have had to do another coat, but because I had painted it white, I didn't want the white showing through. And I am using the Annie Sloan chalk paint brush. And when you are applying any of the chalk paint, it is okay to just do all sorts of random strokes, as everything will be covered once you apply the wax, and it'll look really uniform and really nice. So after I applied the second coat, I let it dry again, and what the great thing about chalk paint is it dries pretty fast. So I did give this a few hours just so that I wouldn't take off the glaze, take off the paint with the glaze, because sometimes that does happen. You just have to be gentle. You're supposed to apply the clear wax and then apply the glaze or the dark wax, but I wanted the dark wax to really soak into the paint, so I was doing it before. So I'm doing the glaze before. So just when you're rubbing it on, I'm using the Rust-Oleum decorative glaze in Java because I did run out of the antique wax from Annie Sloan, and I really like the way this works too. So when I'm applying this, I'm just using a rag and I am just putting it generously all over the table, and then I'm spreading it, and then you'll see me go with a paper towel, or you could probably a cloth is better, but this is what I had on hand, so I just kind of grabbed it. And I'm going to just wipe it all off. Not all of it off, but kind of wipe off the excess. So as you can see, there's a few spots where I did wind up taking it off. So I went back and put the paint back on, and then I let it dry and I put the glaze back on. You just might have to touch it up if you do it a little bit too roughly. So once it all dried and I applied a little bit of the glaze, I'm going to add this black Annie Sloan black wax. I'm sorry I didn't show the can, but it is the Annie Sloan black wax. And I am using just a wax brush to apply this. And again, I am putting it generously all over the table, everywhere. And then I'm going to use a cloth, like a cotton cloth, to wipe off the excess. Again, you want to be careful because even with a brush, if you push too hard, you'll take some of the paint off. This is until you protect it. Once you protect it, then it's all good. But until then, it's a little bit finicky. So again, just be liberal with it and add as much as you want to get to achieve the look that you want. So like I'm not doing it super super light, but I am not like I'm not like being like when I apply the clear wax, I it's like a wax on wax off type of thing and I buff it really nicely, but when I'm doing this layer, I do it really really gently. Maybe like a little bit of push, but not too much. And basically this is trial and error. You just keep on doing it until you get the look that you're going for. So then even here you can see I'm going back and kind of fixing up the spots where some of the paint came off and where I'm not liking the way it looks. And again, this is something that you may have to do or you might not. It just depends, but I did. So I just added some of the paint back on and then I'll go back and redo the wax. Now I flipped the table over and I'm using this country gray from Rust-Oleum, and it's also a chalked paint, and I am painting the bottom of the table as well as the sides. I did have to clean off the table first. It doesn't look like I cleaned it off, but I did. And it was pretty dusty. So just clean off as much as you can just so that to get the dust and whatever off. And just do one or two layers depending on the coverage that you want. I am going over top of it with the black wax again. So I'm doing a nice coverage, making sure none of the brown is showing through, but I'm not too concerned about like a heavy coverage. So again, it's up to you. And I didn't scruff this bottom part up at all. If you do, your paint might even stick better, but it works fine even if you didn't. That's the beauty of chalk paint. You don't have to do the prep work beforehand. So once your paint is nice and dry, then you want to apply the wax. So again, I am using that Annie Sloan black wax, and I'm using this brush. So now I'm showing you because I didn't show you previously, but just so that way you can see what I am using here. And again, you just apply a liberal amount of the wax and then you wipe it off, wipe the excess off. So if you haven't gotten this from my channel from watching it before, I absolutely love chalk painting stuff and painting furniture and painting my fireplace and all the other things. I love to make them really, I want to make them new by aging them. It's really funny. So I buy all of my furniture used or I pick it up for free or whatever. Most of it is solid wood. Most of it is probably was expensive at the time that we purchased it. I have handmade things. I have things from the 1920s. Now, some things I haven't touched and some things I won't paint. Most things I will, especially if they've been damaged, then I got to fix them up. So, for example, my dining room set I haven't touched. It's from the 1920s. The table I will not do anything with. It's got a nice stain, but the buffet has a lot of water stains on it. So I'll have to do something with it, but I'm not doing anything until I decorate my formal living room, which right now is being used as a playroom. So I absolutely love doing this. I love you can get really nice quality high-end furniture that's, maybe a little bit dinged up or whatever for next to nothing, and you give it new life, saves it from the landfill, and you have good quality furniture that will last a lifetime in your house. And the great thing with paint is if you get sick of the color, you can repaint it and have it look like a new piece all over again. So I love chalk painting. This video is not sponsored or anything by anybody. I've been using, well, the Annie Sloan paint for probably a good, I want to say like 11 years now, 11, 12 years. And the Rust-Oleum I just kind of started using in the last two years. But I love them both. And it does get a little bit pricey when you do this. But again, it would be cheaper than buying these things at the original cost. So anyway, once you get the look that you're going for, then that's it. I'm going to have to go back to add the handles and the little foot things, and I'll show you what those look like in the next clip, and that's it. So I attached the feet and the handles on, and I love the way it looks. I think it turned out really nice. It'll make a really nice table in my living room if that's where I decide to use it. I haven't decided yet, but I absolutely love it. And I did not paint these details, these feet or the handles. I left them as is because I thought they would add a nice touch to the table. Again, I'm in love with this piece. Let me know what you guys think. I think it looks really high end, and if you've gone on Wayfair or anywhere like that and you've looked for kind of antique tables, they're going for, a couple $100. Looks great. Here it is all staged. Please let me know what you think in the comments below if you're in love with this as much as I am. I am upcycling this thrifted side table. I purchased this on Facebook Marketplace for $10. I actually have a set of them. They were $20 for the set, but I'm just doing the one for now. And what I wanted to do originally was I wanted to just paint it and not do anything else with it. Then I found that these imperfections that it had were actually making the paint kind of look gunky. So then I decided I was going to sand it all down and stain the top. However, when I was sanding it down, I could not get all of the little corners and everything without having to take apart, and that's kind of beyond my ability. So then I decided that I was going to go ahead and just paint it with this cocoa chalk paint after I sanded it down somewhat, just so that the imperfections were gone and the paint would have somewhere to stick. Now I don't have a lot. Let me see if you guys can see. I don't have a ton in here, so I'm going to dilute it in a little bit of water to make it go a little bit further. And then I will be using the Rust-Oleum charcoal for the bottom. So what I'm actually doing is I'm painting the top part in the cocoa and just the sides of it as well. And then the bottom part, because it's kind of like a two level side table. So the bottom part I'm painting in this cocoa as well. And kind of I want it to look like the frame is one color and then the tabletops are a different color. And because I told you I wanted to go with that wood look, I decided to do the cocoa, and then I'm going to be adding some waxes on top, which will make it kind of look brown, but not wood grain. But when you see this finished product, it's going to look amazing. You're going to love it. So because I did sand it down, I only needed one coat of the cocoa paint. Now you technically don't have to sand down when you're using the chalk paint. However, I found that it sticks a little bit better if you do sand it down. So when you're applying your wax, you don't take off the paint. So if you have the time, if you have the patience, give it a nice rough sanding so the paint sticks better. You don't have to use a primer. You totally could if you wanted to have that even better durability. But once you apply all of your waxes, it'll be pretty durable. And you can always use a coat of some sort of a varnish on top that will protect the paint. Not varnish, like a protective spray. So the brush that you see me using is actually an Annie Sloan brush. And it's fabulous. It's fantastic. It works amazing. The bristles stay on. I've had this brush for many, many years, and it's kind of pricey, but it's well worth the cost. We only have one store that sells, well, we have a few, but none of them are in our town. So the one store that I prefer going to for Annie Sloan stuff is a little bit further out, and because of all of our restrictions, they've been kind of closed on and off. That is why I've gone with some paints from Rust-Oleum that are like the chalk paints. But I really do like the Annie Sloan paint. I find that the Rust-Oleum is pretty comparable. I feel like the Annie Sloan goes a little bit further, and the waxes are like completely different in texture, so it's hard to compare them. I really like the black wax and the dark wax from Annie Sloan, but I also really enjoy that Rust-Oleum glaze. It's just they're completely different. The waxes from Annie Sloan are like waxes, so that you kind of like you put them on and you rub them off, and it's a waxy texture. Whereas the Rust-Oleum, it's just a decorative glaze, so it actually tints your paint color like after you've painted it, but it doesn't give that protection like the clear wax does from Annie Sloan, if that makes sense. But it has a different purpose. The antique wax from Annie Sloan doesn't protect either. But anyway, different textures, so it just depends what you like working with better. So now I'm painting the sides of this piece in the charcoal black from Rust-Oleum, and You can see it goes on nicely as well. And the only key to all of this is before you apply any of your waxes or any kind of painter's tape, because you see that I left like a little bit of the cocoa on the bottom, I'm going to have to change that. I'll have to use some painter's tape just to have a nice even line. But anytime you're using it, make sure you give it time to dry. Chalk paint does dry fairly fast. I would say about an hour and it's dry, but if you want it to be fully dry where you don't have to go back and touch things up, because when you're applying the wax, give it a few hours for it to dry completely. I mean, if you have a day or overnight, let it. You don't need to, but give it a few hours so it's nice and dry. Make sure nothing is wet, because when you will go to apply the wax, it'll take off the paint too. And what I like about all of these paints is that you just need soap and water to wash your hands off. And same with the brushes, you just need some warm water to get rid of the paint. So that's awesome. So I did find with the charcoal paint, I did have to go back and kind of touch things up. Now, I don't know if it's just because I kind of wiped it off the piece wasn't as sanded, so when I applied the paint it kind of slid off, or if it's the quality of the paint. I kind of thought about that. I'm not sure. I can't tell you which one it is, just because the side of the piece wasn't as sanded as the top of the piece. But it would have been interesting if I had some of the black from Annie Sloan to just kind of try it on the other table and see how it works. But anyway, so I applied the paint and I did have to go back and touch it up for the black. But again, it was just one coat. It's just that I had to touch it up in a few spots. So I guess it was like 1.5 coats. And then I let it all dry. So I did wind up using just a small brush to fix up and touch up the little spots where I couldn't get with my big brush, and in between the curves and stuff like that. So that's the only kind of downfall of the big brush, is you can't get into the little grooves, but then you just take a small brush and do what you need to do. So I was really happy with how this piece turned out. I thought it was really nice as it is, but I still wanted that extra touch of antique, and I wanted this top to be more brown than kind of the light beige. So I'm starting with the Rust-Oleum decorative glaze in Java. Make sure you wear gloves when you apply this one, because it does stain your hands quite a bit. And I'm applying it just with a rag, and I'm basically applying it and rubbing it off right away and just kind of rubbing it in there. Do it gently so you're not scrubbing so hard that your wax is coming off. So I do wind up glazing the sides as well, where the black part is. I wasn't going to originally, but then I did it by accident and I liked the way it looked. So this is what it came out to once I did all of the sides and everything. Then I went and I fixed up where my wax kind of took off the paint. That's what I was telling you, to let it dry completely. And then I added this Annie Sloan black wax, and I'm using just a wax brush that I picked up at Lowe's or Home Depot or somewhere like that. It was about 5 years ago, so I don't remember. And it was a natural Bristol brush. That's what I was looking for. And I'm applying it with the brush and then wiping it off with the wax. And I do it all over the piece again, on the tabletops and on the sides. And I don't wind up kind of reapplying the dark glaze onto the parts where I touched it up. I thought it was fine just to add the black wax. And after I finish this, then that's where you do your protective stuff. I will be going to purchase a protective spray, And I can't do that until it's nice out, so I'm not showing you that part. I can add it in the comments once I spray it which one I wind up with. I'm just going to Home Depot and seeing what they have. I was going to use the clear wax, but I wanted to give a spray a try just because I haven't tried it before. And the problem is that it's really cold outside, so I can't open windows or anything like that to air it out. And I want to kind of do this in my garage. I can't do it when it's minus 30 outside, so minus 30 Celsius for those of you in the States. So I can't do it when it's that cold outside. So I'll just wait. These are going to kind of sit for a little while anyway. I haven't decided where they're going, whether I'm going to try and sell them or I'm going to gift them to somebody. I don't know what I'm doing with them. I really love them. I had purchased them originally to put in my family room once we convert my living room, which is right now a playroom, into a living room, and then this will go in the family room. But that's not happening for a few years. So, but I was eager to get them painted. So I might sell them. We'll see. Or gift them to someone. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's all there is to it. It has a few steps. I still have to fix up the sides there where you see the little cocoa that's kind of going into the black, but I will just touch that up with some painter's tape and just a small brush. And that's all there is to this piece. It's not very hard to do. It did not cost a lot. I mean, the paint I had on hand, if you didn't have the paint on hand, it would cost you, a couple bucks for the paint. But you can also buy small sample paints. You don't have to buy the big paint cans. But I love the way this piece looked. And these pieces, I mean, it's a solid wood piece that was made in Canada, which is awesome. And it's very sturdy, very durable, and now it has been given new life, and it looks like a high-end, expensive piece probably that you could get at, any of the stores that sell kind of French provincial stuff for a couple $100. I was looking online, so per table, and I paid $20 for the two of these, which is awesome. Anyway, I hope you like this. Here it is, completely finished and styled. I am in love, and like I said, I don't know that I want to sell it, but let me know what you think. I did not paint the little handle on the drawer. I left it as it is. I just cleaned it up and I love it. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you love thrifting as much as I do. All of my furniture in my house, except for my couches and my mattresses, are all thrifted or handmade, including my bed frame. For this flip, I'm using 3 Billy bookcases. 2 of them I had thrifted. The smaller one I had purchased brand new only because I was purchasing a glass door as well, and I was worried if I bought an older series it might not work for whatever reason. It probably would have, but I was worried. But anyway, you can pick these up for really inexpensive, like they were $15 for the big ones, so really inexpensively. You can pick them up on Facebook Marketplace, Kijiji, Craigslist, whatever you use for picking up your thrifted items. And what you want to do is you might want to rough them up a little bit. So I just took a little bit of just some sandpaper and I roughed them up just a touch. And then I used some shellac primer and I used the bin primer. And all I'm doing is just painting out the bookcase, actually all of them. And that's for the paint to stick. There might be other ways you can do this, but I found that this has actually made the paint stick quite well. And I don't know if you've tried painting IKEA furniture before, but it's kind of slippery, so sometimes it's really hard to get paint on it, even if you're using chalk paint. Now, I did get them to tint this. I wanted them to tint it just like a creamy color because you'll see the shelves I don't do in the same color as I did the actual frame of the shelf. So, but they told me it wasn't possible. So I had them tint it as dark blue as they could because I was going to be using my frame around is going to be a dark blue. So I thought, well, if the primer is blue, then it won't show so much. It'll be a little bit easier to cover it. I'm sure you can get it tinted any color you'd like, but for some reason they said it wasn't possible. And I called twice and they just didn't understand what I wanted. But I thought you could tint primer in any color, but apparently these people at Home Depot said no. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong. If you know, let me know in the comments below. Anyway, I did this with all the shelves. I'm just showing you the one shelf. You don't need to see me painting every single one of them, as that would make it for a long boring video. When you do use this primer, make sure you're using an old brush that you don't need or you clean it right away with paint thinner. Otherwise, it's going to ruin your brush. And then I'm using just the cheapest Home Depot paint that you can find. And I'm doing it in the Arctic sky blue. And I needed to do, I think about I did 2 coats and then I touched it up again. And this took a while. It's not the highest quality paint and it was in a matte, but it was cheap and I wanted to see how it would work. So with a few coats, I got it there. And I'm using a combination of a roller and a brush. And I did forget to mention, I had to do 2 coats of the primer because you want to make sure that it covers your shelf really well so that the paint has something to stick to. The door I just covered with painter's tape so that I wouldn't get the paint on the glass. Now I'll talk about this a little bit later because I did have to kind of do a little bit of a trick with that too. So here's kind of what it looks like with a brush applied, and you saw what it looked like with a roller, and I just kind of wanted you to see both so that way you could kind of determine for yourself how you wanted to go. But either way, like I said, it's just whatever you prefer. So once I painted all 3 cabinets and I used the wider 2 Billy bookcases and then the narrower one, I just didn't film myself painting all of these just because I didn't think you really needed to watch me paint. I just kind of did an up and down motion and I wasn't too worried about brush strokes because I was applying some wax at the end. So at the end, I applied the black wax, and the black wax just gives the piece just that rich, darker blue color. And I love this Annie Sloan black wax. It just such a great job with it. Doesn't distress it so much as it just gives it a different color. And whenever you apply the wax, if you've watched my other tutorials, you just kind of have to go side to side to side with a brush and then you wipe it off with a rag. Now, when you are doing the side to side motions, you could do everything with a rag. I prefer using a brush. Now for the shelves, I wanted this to look a little bit different. So what I was kind of going for is for it to look like wood. So I originally thought I could use the glaze, the Rust-Oleum decorative glaze, you've seen me use this before, over top of the primed shelves, but it wasn't working, it wasn't sticking. So I went to my Annie Sloan chalk paint and I used the cocoa and I painted over top of it with the cocoa, and then I actually wound up using a gel stain to make that wood grain look, and I'll show you kind of what I did there. But the reason I went with the cocoa is because I wanted to have that contrast a little bit lighter at the bottom, like a lighter brown with a darker brown at the top. It depends whatever look you're going for. I found that this is kind of the look that I like the best. The reason I had mentioned that you should use chalk paint for if I were to do this again, I would use the primer with the chalk paint over top is just if you look at how beautifully it covered it and it didn't come off or anything like that, I just think the chalk paint would do a better job of covering than the other paint did. So to achieve the wood grain look, what I'm doing, again, I'm using the gel stain from Minwax. Originally, I was going to use my Rust-Oleum glaze, decorative glaze, but it didn't work the way I wanted it to work, so I'm using this gel stain. And I'm reapplying it to this board because my son had stepped on it, so I had to reapply it, but I realized that I would have to repaint it just when I was putting the gel stain on. It wasn't applying properly, so I'll show you on a fresh board what I did. So you just want to use a foam brush and use your wood grain tool. Now this one that I have came with several attachments, so I'm just using one of the attachments that I thought would look best on this one. You can use whichever one you want. And I just like to rock this back and forth. And then it's kind of like a trial and error depending on what you want it to look like. So at least with me, I kind of did a little bit and then I went back and I redid it and then I went over top and just kind of did it until I got the look that I was going for. Some people say that you only have to rock it once. I like to rock it a few times because I feel like it gives it kind of the illusion of naughty wood. And try not to do it in the same spot like whenever you rock, just because then it'll look like it's one beside the other, and that's not what you want. You want it to kind of look all scattered. Just wanted to give you a close-up of what the wood grain kind of looks like so you get an idea, and then what the painted shelf looks like. And I did go over all of this with some clear wax from Annie Sloan. Now, the middle shelves of these boards were attached already and I didn't want to take them off. So those ones I painted in a mixture of brown, espresso brown, and black acrylic paints, and then I painted. So there's a kit that you can buy at IKEA for the corner cabinet. So it's right there. And then you kind of put them here and you slide them on. And just at the top there, as you can see, I didn't paint the top of the cabinet, but at the top there are your anchors so that the cabinets don't topple over. And here's the corner where all of this will be going. I used to have just like a little table there, and I bought the corner hardware kit, and my husband had installed it, making sure that he anchored everything. So here's the shelf before we put the door on it. I wanted a glass door because I wanted to put little figurines and stuff over there, like some like travel memorabilia. Now, the only thing with the glass door was when I tried to paint it blue, because I ordered it white, when I painted it blue, the backs, like from the inside, the white showed. So if you are purchasing a glass door, purchase it dark, like purchase it black or even blue, and then paint it to your blue color on the outside, so that way the inside doesn't show. So what I did here is I actually just did on the inside, I painted a straight blue line to kind of get rid of that. But that's the only thing that kind of you could do without taking the glass out. So anyway, just be careful of that. But here it is. I love, 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 love how it turned out. It's all of our Disney stuff, pictures of the kids, pictures of family members that are no longer with us or even with us but don't live near us, and stuff from our travels. So I love it. Let me know what you think. I decided to reuse, repurpose an old cabinet that was actually left behind by the previous owners of our house. We thought we would throw it out. Then I thought maybe I could use it in my craft room. So then I wasn't able to use it in my craft room, so I thought I would throw it out. And then finally I found a home for it, and I'll show you what I did with it. So this was actually an entertainment, like an old, probably 1990s entertainment unit that had a top part to it. So because the top part was gone, we put this piece of wood, well actually I think it's particle board, for where the hole was for the top part. I apologize for the angle of this and for the lighting. It's right in front of the mirror. I had put it in my craft room, and because I'm redoing the craft room, there wasn't much room for me to actually record and do this properly, so I'm trying to do it the best I can, just to show you what it looks like before. So see the lighting because of the window is a little bit off, but it's okay. So it had a little rolling shelf on in the middle there that I took out, and we had originally taped some like shelf liner on top to cover this. Well, we didn't. My husband did. That was his solution to trying to make this look pretty. So anyway, I went ahead and I took that off. So those are all, that's what the marks are from. And I sanded it, I'm going to sand it down a little bit just so the paint holds better onto all of the surface, because it's not really wood. I'm not sure what material it is. It's extremely heavy, but I was afraid that if I don't sand it, the paint wouldn't stick. So I'm sanding it down a little bit just with my, like, just with a piece of sandpaper. To me, it's probably one of the ugliest pieces of furniture that I own. I really wasn't sure if I would even keep it after I painted it because it's just so ugly. But I had paint, so I didn't have to go out and buy paint. I had it. I had the piece, so I thought, well, let's see how it turns out, and if we don't like it, I will just throw it out. Actually, I probably wouldn't throw it out. I would probably donate it, but I would get rid of it from my house. So I did 2 coats of the Rust-Oleum chalk linen white over top on the top here. And you can see it after 1 coat, it didn't cover it fully, so I did another coat because I did want full coverage on this. So after I applied the second coat, I applied a coat of Annie Sloan clear wax to protect the wood. And I applied some clear wax just to protect the paint. The clear wax is an Annie Sloan clear wax. So we finally moved it out of the craft room and put it in the family room where I wanted to keep it. And I'm going to go ahead and apply the Serenity Blue from Rust-Oleum using my Annie Sloan brush. And so this is the technique that I used at the top too. Just basically going in all sorts of directions and applying it liberally. And like I said, I had sanded it down a little bit beforehand just so the paint would stick better. You can see the side I applied some paint there as well. I didn't want to move it before I painted the top because I wanted the top to be ready when we moved it back so we could put the TV on it and not keep the TV on the floor. So that's why I had to paint in the other room, and that's why the angle was a little bit weird. But anyway, here is a better angle of me painting this. I'll speed it up because I don't think you guys need to watch me paint the entire piece. So after I went ahead and I applied everything, here is what it looks like just with 1 coat. And I purposely didn't try to cover it completely because I've done that before where I try to, and then I just cake on the paint. So this way it's just 1 light coat, and then here it is with another coat all covered. Now the inside of those shelves I will be painting white just to bring that white back. So and I was contemplating, because I still didn't like the way it looked, whether I should do black wax on top. I really didn't want to do it originally, but I wound up doing it, and I think it looks amazing. Then I also thought that in addition to the black wax, the piece also needed handles. So I just went to Home Depot and I got black handles. They were $17 for 5 handles. So they were pretty cheap. So I got the handles and my husband attached them. So here is what it looks like completed. So I absolutely love the way this turned out. I will not be getting rid of it. I think the black wax definitely added that extra that I was looking for, and the handles turned out amazing. I love, 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 love the way it turned out. So if you like how it turned out, make sure you hit that like button and let me know what you think in the comments below. going to be basically redoing these two stools. Now, these two stools came from my sister. They were my niece and nephews. They are both basically adults now, so these stools have been around for a long time. I actually bought these for Matthew and Emma when they were little. So it's nice that I'm getting them back to be able to use them with my kiddos. So that's what I'm doing today is I'm going to be redoing them and painting them and making them suit my boys. So what I'm doing first is just cleaning them off. I'm just using a Lysol wipe just to get some of the, like if there's any grease or anything like that on them, any dust. So I'm just wiping them off. And then I'm going to be just lightly sanding them off a little bit to get any gunk off if there's anything that's like sticky on them or something like that. Um, and then I'll be painting them with some chalk paint. Now, I am using the Cocoa, Annie Sloan chalk paint in Cocoa, and I'm going to be doing a few coats of this. So the first coat, I'm just going to be lightly painting over the piece, and it's just so I can kind of have a base for the paint to adhere to. So I'm not too worried about full coverage at this point. It's just more or less just like a light coat of it, and then I'll do more coats as need be. I'm only going to be recording myself doing this. I don't think you need to see me um, doing multiple coats because otherwise the video is going to be very, very long, and we don't want it to be that long. I'm just using a dollar store brush for this piece. And the reason for that is because I was already using this paint for another project and I had the brush dirty in this color. So I'm just using this brush. Normally I like to use my Annie Sloan chalk paint brush, but I just didn't this time because I'm using that one for painting something white. So I just wanted to keep it white. Now I will be painting like underneath and on the sides of everything. So even though the way these stools will be positioned, they'll be going in the bathroom, like in my boys' bathroom, so they can have little stools for brushing their teeth and washing their faces and stuff like that. So you won't be able to see the back, but I will paint it anyway, just so it is all uniform. So what I did was I used my Cricut to cut out a stencil. So this is a reusable stencil film. I really don't like it for letters and signs, so I don't know. See, it's new, so I wanted to try it out, but I can already see it's going to be a little bit of an issue. And then the other chair, I'll bring it over. The other chair, I just used vinyl, and that one should be much better. So I'm gonna stencil in using my Rust-Oleum chalked charcoal paint and this little dabber from the Dollar Tree. So yeah, I'll have to kind of hold it down. So that's what I don't like. See, I already see that it's going through, so I'm not liking that, but hopefully it'll be okay. So after these dried, I had my husband help me and we put paint on the feet of our sons, like at the bottom of their feet, and then we helped them step onto the stools so that their footprints would be on the stools. And I think that is such a cute addition, and I think these stools are now adorable. So here they are. Like I said, I think they turned out adorably. After everything dried, I put clear wax over top of them, the clear Annie Sloan wax, and it was just for an added protection so that the chairs would be protected and the paint wouldn't come off. I think they're super cute, and here they are in their bathroom looking really, really nice. So if you like what you see, make sure you hit that big like button. Hi guys, so here is what I'm working on today. I'm super excited. This was what I found at the thrift store to be one of the ugliest items they had. It's very rusty, the inside is stinky. It totally needs to be redone, and I'm super excited to make it into something beautiful. So as you can see, like the top is in really rough shape. Um, it's rusty, the metal parts are rusty, and like the bottom looks like it has paint on it. So I'm really excited to be working on this today for today's video. So I cleaned off the chest just with some soap and water on the outside, and I'm going to start off by painting it. I am using the Rust-Oleum Country Gray to paint the chest, and I will have to do 2 coats of this paint because um, just the blue still would come through. So I taped off some of the wood parts. I was going to tape off the metal parts as well, but then I decided not to. Then I decided I was going to go a different way. So as with any of the paint, when you're painting any pieces with chalk paint, you want to make sure you're going in all sorts of directions, and you're doing lighter coats so you're not caking on the paint. You don't have to sand anything down, and you don't have to do really any prep work other than just cleaning it up. So it's super easy to work with chalk paint, and the results are just amazing. So once this dries, I'm going to go ahead and apply the Annie Sloan black wax. And the reason I'm applying it without putting clear wax first is I want a really dramatic effect. And I also want to stain this wood as well. So when you're applying the wax, it's the same idea as with the paint. You want to make sure that you're going in all sorts of directions, not just in one, and then you apply it and wipe it off, and apply it and wipe it off, depending on how much you want to stay there, like how much of a stain you want. So unfortunately, I didn't record this, but after I applied the black wax, I thought it was a little bit too black. So I applied the Annie Sloan dark wax as well, which I thought I might do because I always like the combination of the two waxes together. So that's what you'll see at the end result of the video. I have a little bit of the recording, but my camera shut off and I didn't notice, so I apologize. After I apply the waxes, I go ahead and I apply Duck Egg Blue from Annie Sloan. And I'm just doing it on the metal parts. As you can see here, I've already done a little bit at the top. And then I go ahead and I put this gilding copper, so liquid gilding copper from Martha Stewart. It's from Michaels. And I put it over top. So what I'm trying to achieve is kind of like the aged copper, kind of copper that's tarnishing a little bit. That's what I'm trying to achieve. I really love that look. So if you've watched any of my metal painting videos or anything like that, I like to always have that in there. I'll link like my spoons up top so you can see what I'm talking, my spoon and fork up top the video, so you can see what I'm talking about if you wanted to check it out. With the liquid copper, you just want to be careful that you dab, like you dip it in a little bit and then you dab off on like a piece of paper or something, so that you don't have too much on. Otherwise it'll be pretty dark, unless that's a look what you're going for. But what I did was I dabbed off a little bit so that I could just have a light coating going over top of the copper. So to achieve the look I wanted, I just kept on applying and reapplying the gilding copper and the duck egg blue. So I got rained out and I had to bring the trunk inside, but then I brought it outside just to make sure that I got all of the colors that I wanted. I just wanted it in natural light because the basement tends to get a little bit dark. So here's the finished piece. I'm so happy with the way it turned out. I love the stain of the wood. I love how the copper came out. I love everything about this. It'll be used as a coffee table in my family room downstairs in the basement, and it'll look wonderful. And inside, I'll store blankets, and I'm so happy with them. I'm incredibly excited that I found it, and it was so cheap that I couldn't not get it, even though it was so ugly. I'm sharing with you a furniture makeover video. This is my family room furniture, and I'm starting off with this square oak table. This table I got for free from my sister's mother-in-law. She was getting rid of it, and I gladly took it. So it has been painted twice already. So this is kind of the most recent paint color, and you can see it's chipping, it's coming off. So I wanted a different look for it, so I started off by painting the bottom part black and then sanding this top part. I originally was going to just paint it one color, but then I decided to sand it. Then I was going to stain it, but then I went back to just painting it. But I'll show you what I did. So I just used some sandpaper. I added it to my sander, and then I sanded everything down until I got it looking like this. I could not sand any further, so I left it like this, and I hummed and hawed whether to put stain on it or not, but I decided against it for several reasons. One reason was because I didn't want to use a gel stain, so I would need to strip whatever is on top of there, and it was too hot. I was doing this in the summertime, so it's too hot for me to do that and then have it kind of air dry in the garage. It would have been too much and too long, and we needed the table. So I also contemplated leaving it like this, but it looked too rough. So I opted for painting it, but I can always go back and redo it if I want to. So what I did is I painted it with this Annie Sloan cocoa paint first, and just the top, because the bottom I painted black. And sorry, I used the Rust-Oleum chalked black paint for the bottom. And so this is what I got once I did that. And then I needed to make the top look a little bit darker, more like a wood surface. So what I did was I added some dark antique wax from Annie Sloan, as well as some black wax from Annie Sloan. Now this is 2 coats of the cocoa paint because it needed a few to cover everything. And word of advice is between the coats, if you just sand lightly, so that way it gives you a smooth finish without all the brush strokes. That will help quite a bit. So you can see over there I had to kind of touch up because it did have a few imperfections, but overall it was pretty good, and I let it dry. Now again, this is the other part, you need to let it dry for a good 24 hours before you start buffing and applying all of the wax. You don't want to overdo it because it'll come off. So this is already with a coat of the dark wax, and I'm just putting some of the black wax on top, and then I'll be adding the clear wax. But I also kind of buff off excess so that way it looks a little bit smoother. And then I add the clear wax to protect it, and that is all for this part, and this is what it turned out like, with several coats of the black wax and several coats of the dark wax. It turned out really nice little contrast. It's almost really hard to tell because of the lighting in this room, but this is a little bit better. So you can see it looks like a wood top and a black bottom. So the next piece of furniture that I'm refinishing is this cabinet. Now I will link the video here for you to see what this used to look like because I've already refinished it once. So we were keeping it in our basement, and now I decided to move it to my family room. So originally I painted duck egg blue with a white top that I added a little bit of black wax to make it look kind of aged, but I decided to refinish it. So again, I did the cocoa from Annie Sloan, and I used this dark decorative wax from Bear, and I just added it to the top of the piece so that way it would give it that wood look like I did with the table. You can see there's a theme. I tried to kind of make them all match. And I just kind of went off. You rub it on, rub it off, rub it on, rub it off. And then I also added black wax to it, and it gave me a nice finish. Now, when you are adding the wax, you want to make sure that you add little bits at a time and then buff it off, kind of remove the excess and keep on going because it does dry quite fast. So you want to make sure that you're not darker on one spot and lighter on the other, just because of how it sets in. So just a little bit of advice. And when you are applying the wax, just go in all sorts of directions so that way you don't have any brush stroke. And then you want to go ahead and apply clear wax. I'm using the Annie Sloan, and that's just a protective wax. Like once you've added the black and everything, that's a protective wax to make sure that your piece doesn't get scratched up or dinged up. And you will add that to the bottom and to the top of the cabinet. I don't have a picture of me painting the bottom, but I painted it with a charcoal black from Rust-Oleum. And here's what it looks like once it is completed. Again, I'm doing this at night, so the lighting is not the best, but you can have an idea of what it looks like. I think it turned out really nicely, and it just fits with the room really, really nice. You may have to reapply some of the wax. So if you see like little blotches, I can kind of see here in the picture some blotches. So you may have to reapply some of the wax as time goes on, just because sometimes it cures differently and some things get like if I do a little touch up after, then I have to reapply the wax several times. So just keep that in mind. You may have to do some touch ups after. And last but not least are these chairs. This was a really easy makeover. I just painted the chairs with the Rust-Oleum chalked black paint. I painted the fabric. It just gave them a little facelift until I'm ready to actually reupholster them. So that is everything for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a quicker one, but it was just something I wanted to share with you to see how to show you how quickly and easily you can take your furniture and remake it, redo it. And I used two cans of paint and those waxes. So I mean, initially when you start chalk painting, it's a little bit expensive, but once you have your stuff, like the waxes will last you for a very long time. So then it's just your cans of paint. So if I'm not counting the waxes, it was a can of paint, but that can of paint has lasted me for more than just these projects, and another can of paint for the top, which I still have quite a bit left over. So, probably like $60 for the two. And I feel like I have new furniture in my house. I am sharing with you my son's headboard and table makeover. So I created the headboard with these MDF boards. They're just like the baseboards that you would use around your wall. And we had some left over from our renovation project. So we've cut them to shape to the size that we need for a king size bed. My husband helped me with this. He used the miter saw to cut them and to get the right angle. So here's the outline of the frame. And then the inside, I did different colors. So we cut those pieces smaller because I wanted it to be like a geometric shape. I am using this red paint from Country Chic. I got it off of Facebook Marketplace for $5. It was brand new. And then I'm also using the Rust-Oleum chalked charcoal black paint. So once I have the first coat on, I will add another coat just to get it to be nice and dark. And just continue on with using the paint, and then I brushed it with wax, and my husband used the nailer to attach it to the wall, and here's what it looks like. It looks super cute with his wall color. It's all colorful. This is all his choice, and I bought a blankie to match it, to match everything, and he loves it, so I love it. And I think it turned out really cute and super inexpensive to make. So if you're ever wanting to make a headboard, you can even buy those. You see me use it in my other videos, those framing pieces of wood, and they're like $2-3 each at Home Depot, and you can stain them. You just have to sand them down because they are rough, but you can stain them and have a really nice headboard. So let me know what you think of this one. Then next, I am recreating this table that I picked up off of Facebook Marketplace. I got it for $10 with the chair. Now, I did post the chair makeover in a different video, so I'll link that up here. And what I did first is I just cleaned it off, and then I just took some sandpaper and I roughly just scuffed it up a bit just so that the paint would stick better. Again, I am using that Rust-Oleum chalked paint in charcoal black, and my Annie Sloan wax, which is what I used on the headboard. I didn't show it to you, but I used that as well. And I am also then going to use some of that Country Chic red paint, which went a really long way. So I used it for the drawers, for the side, and for the headboard, that little can, which I was quite impressed. And so I'm just showing you here the wax and the paint, and then I'll get going. I'll show you a little bit of how I paint, but I'm not going to show you in full detail. You just have to make sure you clean it off really well. I'm just using some soap and water because it's a good degreaser. I'm using Dawn, and it'll help take any of the dirt and whatever needs to be taken off of there. And then I prepped just the floor a little bit when I was painting the bottom parts because I didn't want to take the table downstairs because he had been using it for a little while. So I wanted to leave it up here. And don't mind my outfit. This is my painting outfit. My husband says it reminds him of his grandma. So it is like a little apron thing that I bought back home. And I use it for painting because it's great. It covers up my whole body, and then I can just I don't mind getting it dirty. When I paint, I like to I have an Annie Sloan brush that I use, and it's my favorite brush to use because the brush strokes look really nice and it's easily cleaned and all of that stuff. So I'm using that brush. And when I apply the paint, I do like a thinner layer first, and then I do another coat, because if you cake on too much, it tends to either chip off or not look as nice. And when you're painting, you want to kind of do the brush strokes randomly, so that way it doesn't they show less once you buff it and wax it. So as you can see, I'm doing it all sorts of ways, just so that way it looks a little bit better, and the coverage is better then too. And again, you're better off to apply 2 or 3 coats than to cake on too much. And I prefer Annie Sloan paint. It goes a little bit longer, but this one is pretty good too. I don't mind the Rust-Oleum. They're probably my 2 favorite ones to use. I've never used that Country Chic before. That one was pretty good too. It was quite thick, so near the end I did have to water it down because it got pretty thick at the bottom. So here it is all done. It's still not dry, but the coverage is pretty good. That's just 1 coat, so I'll do another coat and you'll see what it's like after. I'm not going to show you painting the other coat because you don't need to see it. Just the key is to let it dry really well before you start to wax it, because otherwise you're going to take some of the paint off. So you have to have patience, which I'm really bad at because sometimes I don't have enough patience for these projects. I don't know why. I just want it to be done. I start to like the way it looks, and then I want to hurry and get it over with. So again, here for the drawers, I'm using that Country Chic red paint, and I will be painting the drawers in that color as well. My son wanted some stripes on the side of the table, so I'll do that as well. I removed the handles, and I wind up painting the handles black as well, so that it gives a little bit of that contrast. And so same thing, I'm applying the paint, doing random brush strokes with this paint too to get it red, and I do wind up doing a few coats. So applying the wax is the same idea as the paint. You want to do random strokes. I'm using, this is not an Annie Sloan brush, but it is a natural Bristol brush that has been used quite a bit. I made the mistake of not washing it after every use, so I now kind of just left it. I did try washing it a couple of months ago. Didn't work out all that well because the wax is really on there. So I probably will have to have get a new one. But I've had this brush for years, like 10 years at least. So it served me well. So again, I'm doing it really randomly, but I'm doing small sections and then buffing it out. So rubbing it. So that's why I'm telling you have to wait for the paint to dry, because when you're buffing, you do run the risk of taking the paint off if it's not dry enough. So again, little sections are better, and you can do 2 or 3 coats of wax on this just to give it a really good protection, but you have to let it dry and set in between. So this did take me several days to do because you have to let it dry and all of that stuff. So again, but random strokes, so that way you can't see the brush strokes as much, and it'll give you that really, really nice finished look. So here's what it looks like all finished with the handles painted black, the little sides. I just used, this was random again. I just used some painter's tape to get this covered so that I could have nice stripes. And I just had to do some touch-ups, but I think it turned out really, really nice. Let me know what you think. My little guy loves it, so that's all that matters to me. So I picked up this chair and table for, I think it was $10 on Facebook Marketplace. So I'm going to redo this chair. It's for my son's room. It's perfect for the little table because it's nice and small, and he's small. I'm obviously going to reupholster because this is kind of gross. And it's also been sitting in my garage for a little while. So, and then I will be painting it out in a charcoal black from Rust-Oleum. I'm going to just roughly sand it down. Although, as you can see, it's already like some of the stuff is coming off, but just like rough it up a little bit so the paint sticks better. So there's screws here, which I'm just going to, I've drilled out, like I've taken out, and then this will just pop off down here so I can reupholster and do what I need to do with this thing. And there's just 4 of them. You don't need to take this off because you're not putting apart the chair, just this top one that's holding that. Well, let me tell you. So this was professionally reupholstered. There was like a little tag on it. And it had 3 layers of fabric, tons and tons of screws and staples. I can't get them all out. Normally I would like to. This time I won't. I would expect, and correct me if I'm wrong, I've never had furniture reupholstered, and I don't reupholster it professionally, so I don't know. But I'm assuming if it's done professionally, it should be all taken down to the bottom, like to the bare wood, and then like a new cushion and a new fabric. Not like a little bit of cushioning over the old fabric again and again and again. So a little bit crazy to me that somebody paid to have that done, but maybe that's the way it's done and I just don't know. So like I said, normally I would take these out. It's just, I'm afraid I'll cut myself, and there's just so many nails and staples and all that stuff. So I will leave it. I took down anything that was loose so my little guy wouldn't get his fingers stuck, and I will cover it enough so that it doesn't go through. And then I just sanded this down a little bit. I will paint it, not because you have to, but for my own sanity. I'm just going to lightly
kind of whatever leftover paint I have from my brush, I'll like smear it on here just to give it kind of a fresh smell. It smells like old wood. It doesn't smell like anything bad, but I'm weird because I love buying old furniture, but sometimes it grosses me out because I don't know what's been on there. So I like to kind of make it all fresh and new. So anyway, that's what I'm doing there. I contemplated cutting another piece of wood like this, but I'm afraid I won't get it to be exactly the size and then it won't fit. So I will reuse this. It's fine. I sanded it down. I'll paint it. It's fine. My husband thinks I've lost my mind. So anyway, because I'm like, well, can you smell it? Does it smell like? He's like, I don't smell anything. I'm like, are you sure? So anyway, that's just how I am. Normal like wood pieces and stuff like that. But if I have like dressers, when I have clothes in there, I really do a good job sanding them down and like cleaning them out. And yeah, just sometimes I get weird like that. But anyway, let's go ahead and paint the chair in this, and then you can see the finished piece hopefully today. So as you can see, I didn't sand it down like a whole lot, just like a little bit to rough it up. I did a bit more here just because I figure he'll be kind of putting his hands here to pull the chair in. So I thought, you know, if I do a little bit more here, it might make the paint last a little longer so it doesn't come off. I will protect it with wax, but sometimes with a lot of use and dings and stuff, it does cut, like the chalk paint will come off. So I guess just like any paint will get dinged up, but yeah, so I just put a little bit of extra care into here so it stays a little bit more. I already started painting here, so I'm just doing like a light coat first. Show you. The lighting is a little bit off here, but you can see I'm doing like a light coat, and then I'll do another coat over top. And this is because what winds up happening is you get too many brush strokes if you do like a heavier coat. I used to do that before. So what I do now is I do a light coat, I cover everything, so that I'll go over that again to cover it, but I cover everything with a light coat. Then I sand with like a hand, not a hand sander, but like I sand by hand, just gently with sandpaper, and then just to get if there's like any clumps or anything like that, and then I do it again. It'll just give it a bit of a smoother finish, I found.
So then after I painted it, I gave it 2 good coats. I cut out a piece of foam chair padding that I had for a different chair that I just never got around to finishing, so I thought I'd use it for this chair. And as you can see, I ripped it off a little bit at the end, but that's okay. It'll just stick together and that's fine. I hot glued it together. And then I roughly cut out a piece of fabric. I cut it out bigger because I know that I'm going to be stapling to the back. I haven't waxed the chair. I could not find my clear wax from Annie Sloan, so I have to go pick some up or find it. I just couldn't find it. So for now, it'll work without the wax. I may have to touch it up, but here is the chair with the rough fitting of the cushion. I haven't secured it. I wanted to see if it would fit. And once I saw that everything looked nice, I didn't have to tighten anything, and then I went ahead and I secured it to the chair, just returning those screws. And the fabric I just stapled to the bottom of the wood, just like you would. The way I took it off, I kind of put the other fabric on. If you care to know how to reupholster that part of the chair, I do have another video where I did that to a chair and I showed you how I did it. But again, super easy, really nice way to refinish a chair. And the fabric that I used is actually a blanket that I received from Share as like a gift with purchase type of thing. And it's just a nice fleece blanket, which I never used. So I cut it up and I used it for his chair. He wanted red fabric, and this is a nice thick fabric that I thought would be nice and warm under his bum. So I think it turned out really great. Let me know what you guys think. I have a better picture next of it set up in his room. I have not redone the table yet. I thought I would do both for this video, but unfortunately I've run out of time and I haven't redone the table. But once I do, I'll post it again and you guys can take a look. That's why you need to like and subscribe to my channel and like this video so that way, and hit that notification bell so you get notified when I post new videos, and that way you can see if you're interested on how to redo it. But this is just a really easy and cheap, inexpensive way to make an old chair look brand new and look modernized and so much better than the old one. Obviously, you can sand it, you can stain it, you can do whatever. This is what I chose to do because it'll fit with his decor. But it's so versatile and so inexpensive and super easy. It took me, the only thing that took me long was the drying time because it's cold outside right now and I was doing it in my garage, but it took me less than half a day to do all of this. So super easy. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think and have a great day. So here's what this door looked like to begin with. I already started kind of remaking it, but it's just your regular bifold door, which I wanted to match my doors in the hall and in the powder room. So this door here, as well, I have a powder room door that's the same, but I didn't like the way they looked, like the matching set, and they were quite expensive. So I saw this on Instagram, and I'll try to link the account in the video in my description below. But basically what this lady did is she cut a bunch of pieces of MDF and she attached them with a nail gun to her door to make it look like it was a double door with a chevron pattern that opened up. So that's what we are doing here. Now you can buy this MDF at Home Depot and it's quite inexpensive. It's around 10 bucks a sheet, but I had these pieces from our laundry room. We took apart our laundry room as well, and the back and kind of the sides, it was like a makeshift cabinet, had these. So we just cut them up because we threw out the cabinets because they were kind of half a cabinet, quarter of a cabinet. So you save these, and my husband cut them into a 45-degree angle, and then we just started cutting them. All of them were the same size except for obviously near the top and near the bottom. And I did, like I said, I used a nail gun to attach them to the closet. And then once I attached each piece, I actually painted underneath and the sides of it black so that it would be covered. You could paint the entire door black. I decided not to because I just didn't want to waste the paint, but if you wanted to, it would probably make your job a little bit easier, I guess. And basically, it was just a labor of love. And so for the handle, I'm not covering the hole or anything like that. I took the handle off and then I will cover it with the wood or the MDF. And then after, I'm adding two longer, larger black handles. You can add whatever color you want. I did black because all of my hardware is black, but I do love the look of the gold. So I contemplated, but I just thought that would be the only thing in my house that had the gold. So I wanted everything to kind of match. So that's all there is to it. So I'm going to show you the process. And honestly, don't mind the clothing. I'm wearing this, it's called an apron. It's from back home. And it's basically what all the 70, 80, 90-year-old ladies wear. And they wear it over top of their clothes. I like to wear it because it just covers my clothes so they don't get paint on them, especially if I'm not really painting, but just using a little bit of paint. I tend to get splatter all over myself. So this way that covers it. So if I look to like an Eastern European grandma, that's because that's what they wear. My husband's grandmother actually had one of these. So anyway, here I am just showing you how I'm doing it. My husband slightly cut some of them a little bit wider than the others. So I am just measuring them out, and we did them 4 inches wide. So some of them might be a little bit less. So I'm trying to match the thinner ones with the thinner ones. So as you can notice, I also did the stripe in the middle, and that's just because I found that the white was a little bit getting through even in the middle part. So I did the stripe, and then I also painted on the inside just where the creases and the tops. And then I also did the frame all around on the inside. I just thought it was a better look than to try and have that white because I felt that it didn't look as finished. In this way you couldn't quite tell where the door ended precisely and where the frame began. Like you could, but it wasn't so like screaming white at you. So I did that as well, and then I just continued doing one board at a time, and I would say it took me a couple of hours just because I was still matching them up. But if you have them all cut out properly, not that mine weren't cut out properly. If you have them all cut out the same size, then this will go fast. I also, the reason he did them a little bit, just like a touch narrower, is because we were trying to reuse things, right? So if you get a new board and measure it out, how wide you want them, how tall, it all depends on how tall your door is, how wide your door is, what size you'll have to use. But like I said, the width is about 4 inches. And then it was just at the bottom where you had to measure out how long they had to be. Your width stayed the same, and then you just measure out whatever's left over. Because if you didn't, if you didn't do them quite tight against each other the way I did, or if you maybe did them a little bit smaller, it all depends. So measure it out when you get to that point, and then add them to this. Now I did use a roller to paint because I thought it looked a lot nicer than using a brush, but you choose what you want to work with. And I just used the Home Depot Bare black paint for their trim, and I just tinted it in their black color, whatever was the darkest black that they had. I'm not sure if American colors coincide with Canadian colors, so it just depends. I'll link the exact color in my description, but I'm not sure if it'll match up if you're in America to the same thing, but I did it black. You could use chalk paint. I think the chalk paint would look nicer. I was just worried about because this is shiny so you can wipe it off a little bit better. I was worried that the chalk paint I wouldn't be able to wipe off. And then I also didn't want to have the hassle of having to wax everything because I didn't really want to do that. Just would have been too much work. So I did 2 coats of paint, one light coat and then another coat to get it all covered. And then I went back and I touched everything up with a smaller brush and a brush just to get everything to look perfect. And so here it is, and I just used these handles from Amazon. They are the 6-inch handles, and they look fantastic. I love the way it turned out. It just looks so nice in my haul, and let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Stay safe. I apologize it wasn't a Halloween craft video. These renovations have taken over my life. I tell you, I don't want to renovate ever again. But the house is coming together finally, so hopefully I'll be able to get into a better schedule of crafting because I miss crafting. But I also like doing this kind of stuff. So anyway, you made it to the very end. This was a long video, an hour and a half almost, but hopefully it inspired you to thrift over some stuff before you throw it out, or make it over, or find some stuff for cheap and make it your own, give it a unique twist, give it some new life. Love doing this kind of stuff. I've kept all of these things, that even the things that I wanted to sell, I wound up keeping them because I just love them so much. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if it inspired you to do anything. Let me know if you have some plans for the New Year's. I always find that January inspires always for me to do some work around the house. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I'm trying to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark on this channel. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do it. And leave me a comment below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day and stay safe. Bye-bye.